It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money Show, the first show of 2022. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone was safe. But, you know, it is time to get your financial life on track. When we turn the page over, that's a great point to actually say, I want to do something different. If you want to do something different, all you need to do is go to our website, jillonmoney.com. jillonmoney.com, click the contact button, and we'll get your question. Maybe you really want to do a big time drill down on everything. Maybe it's one specific issue. Maybe you just want to know, are you on track with what you thought you wanted to do? This is the time to do it. I know it sounds goofy, New Year's resolutions, but you might as well take advantage of the calendar turn to do something different. And if you think you need more than just us, then, of course, you should check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet provides financial planning to a whole range of different kinds of people. They do it for a flat fee, and they do it without conflicts, and I think that's really important. Facet provides certified financial planners. They're dedicated to you, so you get the same one over and over, not just a random person in a call center. And the kind of financial planning they do, well, it's goal-based. There are no wealth or account minimums. Facet meets you where you are. So check them out at facetwealth.com. Facetwealth.com. All right, so here we go. We are going to try to help everyone on this program get to the next step in their financial lives. We are going to start with Patrick in Pennsylvania. Patrick, you've got a baby, a new house, you got a spouse, you got a lot going on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Jill. Mark, thank you for having me. Big fan of the show, of the book, and excited to be here today. So my wife and I moved. We sold our first home and bought a new home in February, right before the pandemic kind of started. Then had our son was born in March of that year as well. So nothing like in about 30 days, buying a new home, having a baby, and having a global pandemic.
I mean, there's really not much more you could add to your stress plate than that.
That's the ultimate hat trick.
Yeah. I mean, my God. Can I just go back one quick question before you keep telling us your great story? How old are you, Patrick?
I am 36 and my wife is about the same age.
Okay. You got the kiddo. You got the house. How much did you buy the house for?
$285.
Is it still worth that, or has your area seen a big bump up in prices?
Big bump up. We were lucky to get in when we did. The estimated value now is about $320.
Woo! Okay. And you have a mortgage on that house?
We do. And
how much is that?
It's $221 right now, roughly. And actually, we're starting to kick around and getting some quotes on possibly even refinancing.
What's the interest rate now?
3.5.
Were you lucky enough to be able to work from home and have this kid? And how did this work out for you guys?
Yeah, so that was one of those blessings in disguise with everything. We did basically got to spend the entire first year of his life at home with him, working. So he didn't start daycare until after he was 1. We're just starting to go back into the office now, and he's doing the 5-day-a-week daycare.
How's that?
Good. We were trying
expensive.
Yeah, very. We were trying to balance having him home 2 days a week while we were working, and it was great when I used to joke when he was a potato and couldn't really move much. But now once he started walking, that was it. The game was over.
The full mobility is the game changer.
That's right. As soon as that happened for Mark, he was like, all right, my in-laws can't be taking care of him all day long. That's a lot to take care of, right? So how much do you and your wife make together?
About $138,000.
Okay. And tell us about your retirement contributions.
Sure. So this is kind of the crux of why I actually reached out to you. So I work for the state government. So if I would stay with there, would be entitled to a pension. So that is about 6% I have to contribute. And then I also contribute to a 457. I do 11%. Prior to my son, we were actually doing 22%, but we dropped it down once we knew he was coming.
What about your wife? What does she do in terms of retirement contributions?
She does 5%.
And does she get a match?
So she does under that, but it basically comes out between her, what she contributes and the match is 5%.
Okay. And so how is the cash flow with this extra burden of daycare right now?
The cash flow is pretty good. I'm a pretty strict budgeter. I kind of track every penny. I've been doing that for a while. So we're okay there. This is our forever home, so we did make a big jump up, but I expect to continue to make more, and so does she. So we're okay for right now.
Okay, that's good to know. How much do you have saved already in retirement and in just other stuff? Any other savings like emergency reserve fund or money outside of retirement that's invested, and then also the retirement funds?
Sure. So emergency reserve fund, we have about $18K in just cash. And then we have another $15K that is specifically earmarked for medical, major home repairs and things like that. So they're kind of quasi both emergency funds. Then in retirement assets, we have 160,000 saved up right now, and that's split up between 33 in Roth, 54 in an IRA, 25,000 in my wife's 401k, and then I have about 47 and some change in my 457 plan.
So tell us a little bit about the state pension and how long it would require you being there, and how you view that. Is that something that you think like, oh, there's no way I'm staying as long as I need to get the pension? What's going on for you?
So originally when I took the job, so I also have quite a bit of student loan debt, but I am in my 9th year of the 10 years for the public service loan forgiveness.
Wow.
Yes. So I am next December. We're having a big party if you and Mark would like to come, because my student loan debt will be done then.
Fantastic. We'll be there. Mark us down is coming.
And so I originally thought I'll do my 10 years. I'll go into maybe start looking at private practice. And now that my son is here, I kind of realize I like my job. The pension, plan is good. I like the work-life balance I have. So now I'm thinking, wait, maybe I end up kind of sticking out my whole career in the public sector with the state. And so, yeah, I need 10 years there to vest, which I have 6 in now. And then obviously anything you do past the 10-year vesting, you're just increasing what the pension payout would be.
And if you do stick around there, obviously, I think it's always great to stay at least until you vest. We will get back to Patrick and his question in just a minute. In the meantime, go to JillOnMoney.com and bookmark it, because you're going to want to go back there time and time again. JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are here ringing in the new year, trying to help you take the next best financial step for you. We are continuing with our conversation with Patrick in Pennsylvania in just a moment. But listen, I know it's the new year. I know you got a lot on your mind. I know you want to get back on track in a lot of areas of your life. But if it's your financial matters that mean something to you this new year, then reach out to us. Just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the contact button. That is the way to get to us quickly. Don't forget to let us know if you would like to join us. Mark will do everything. Say, I want to come on the program with you. That is what Patrick did, and he's joining us from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet? Okay, let's get back to Patrick. Tell me a little bit about what the pension plan looks like, 20 years down the line, basically. Like if you're 25 years, do you have an idea of what the pension payout looks like? Is it a percentage of your highest 3 years or something like that? Or is it a different number that they calculated for?
So there's a formula. I ran it actually through a couple calculators to prepare for our call. And basically, if I were to stay until I was 65, using just a 2% raise every year, the max payout would be $101,000 a year.
Holy smokes.
I'm done.
I mean, if you like it, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I would take a reduction. My wife is a very, very in shape marathon runner, so she's definitely going to outlive me. So I would take the reduction most likely, but that would still leave it about $80,000 a year. But then she would continue to collect, if I were to die first.
A lot of people will call us and get in touch with us, and they'll say, like, I know you think your pension's really good, but I hate my job. But you're not saying that. And, when you work for a state, the other thing that can happen is that you can kind of move around. There is mobility within the state. Do you have a job you think you could, like, if you got bored with this job, do you think you can go someplace else in the state government?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I definitely have a lot of both upward mobility and lateral if I wanted to at the current position.
I'm done, Mark. Okay, so here's what I think. So you've got a year before the forgiveness. When the forgiveness comes, right, your cash flow's got to be looking pretty sweet, right?
Yeah, and actually my wife's student loan debt is going to be done in July of next year. So we'll have almost $800 to $900 a month, just won't have anything assigned to. Because really kind of what premised the reaching out to you was, I'm trying to balance this idea of a potential pension with how much should we be saving, continued into our 401ks versus what can we put in maybe a 529 for our son. Because right now we put a little bit of money we had put away thinking my wife was going to take a lot more time off, but then since she was home for COVID, so we put that in, and we're just doing kind of $100 to $200 a month into that short term. So the kind of idea was, could we lower our retirement savings slightly with the pension there to then up maybe a little bit of the 529 contributions?
I don't know if you're going to even need to do that, because obviously what's going to happen is your cash flow is going to look great over the course of the next 18 months. Are you guys filing jointly, or do you have to file separately for these loan programs?
So for the last few years, we have filed separately, but this year, because of the pause and how they recalculate your loans, we will for 2020 have filed jointly, and then moving forward, we'll continue to file jointly.
And you guys, when you put money in, like when she's putting the 5% into her 457, is it a Roth 457 or is it a traditional?
So for her, it is a traditional 401k. She can contribute to a Roth, but they're matching
in the traditional.
Will only be in the traditional. Right?
And what about you? Are you in a Roth or in a traditional?
So I was in a traditional initially because my idea was lowering my income, because my student loan payments were based on a percentage of what my individual income was. So that's why we were doing the 22%, just lower what my take home was as much as possible to then pay less on the loans. And now that we're going to get to the end of that, now I'm thinking I would switch that back to a Roth.
Definitely. I think that eventually, obviously not this second, but you're going to manage the process as you need to. But when you're married filing jointly at a 22% marginal rate, we want you to use the Roth options that you guys each have. So for her 401k Roth, even though they match in the traditional, and for you in the 457, the Roth. And again, if the game plan is I'm staying with the state, life is good, I'm going to have, $80,000 of income, straight up income, your tax bracket's not going to go down by that much come retirement. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it really does argue to be in a Roth structure today so that you can, again, pass the repayment, all that stuff, but to have that money set aside that's already been taxed, because your tax bracket's probably going to remain the same. And it may even go up just based on long-term tax rates. It sounds like you're in good shape. When things loosen up, okay, so when the first loosening up where you have, okay, my wife is now frees up the money, in that moment, are we putting in enough money to maximize her match in the 401k, or could she put more in and get more money?
We maxed the match.
Okay. So if you've done that, I would like her to save more for retirement, but since you're new parents and you're kind of nervous about this, I'm okay with you taking the money that is freed up from her loan payment and put it in the 529 plan. That's fine. You're really going to get cooking here. Okay, you're really going to get cooking. You know, as the cash flow does increase, you'll be able to put money in the 529 and more in your Roth accounts. And I think that'd be great. I really do. And I think you'll be in really good shape. And I don't think that you're really going to have to make I don't think you're going to have to make big choices around this. If you wind the clock ahead by 18 months, what is the free cash flow available?
Well, if we also did the refinance, we'd be looking at probably about no raises or anything, about $1,000 a month.
That's great. Mark, am I allowed to put $1,000 a month in the 529? No, he's going to say no. You got to let's put more money. How about if we split it? What about if you did 5 and 5, 500 in the 529 plan and then 500 in retirement? How would you feel about that?
Oh, no, that would be fine. And we would up my wife's. We were intentionally oversaving for retirement in my account again to just lower my income, since that was the only math for the student loans.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you're in a really good place. Did you very nervously say, "Oh my God, we have to get life insurance and we have to get our estate planning done," or did you blow that off?
So we have had life insurance. We got life insurance when we bought our first home. So we each have a $500,000 policy, and then I, through work, added another. I think it's almost about 300,000.
Oh, good.
Because that was cheaper. We have that, and then we've talked about the estate planning. Part of the, with COVID and everything, we weren't sure how comfortable we were going out and stuff. So it's been on the to-do list, and we do know we have to do that now with our son.
The only nudge factor is the estate planning. That's it. That's all I'm going to nudge you about. Otherwise, you'll do the rest. And I think that if you're willing to stay at the state level and, you think that you can make this work, then that's a great deal. It's a fantastic deal. And I think it'll alleviate a lot of the retirement pressure for you in the future.
Agreed. So thank you very much. It sounds like a great plan. And as an attorney, I definitely know I should be getting this estate planning done.
Oh, he even he cops to the fact that he's a lawyer. All right, man. Okay, if you would like to come on the air with us, all you need to do is go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button, and we'll get your note. Tell us you want to come on the air. Mark does the rest. JillOnMoney.com. We will be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. Have you checked out the new website? It looks great. All the great content is there, everything you like, but it's easier to navigate. While you're on the website, please do sign up for our free weekly newsletter every single Friday. It's free. Okay, let's talk to one of you. Next up, Tina in Santa Fe. And Tina, you have a funny question, which is like a weird question to come from somebody young. So tell us about what's on your mind.
Hi. I'm 28 and my husband is 29. We are making 120,000 a year right now, but then we'll be making a lot more next year, around 300. And so we're
Hold on 1 second. How is that happening? Why are you going from 120 to 300? What's going on?
Well, I am a grad student now, so I make very little. And once I graduate, I will make a lot more. So that's why.
Ooh, congratulations. So
Thank
you
you.
have actually figured out a degree that will pay off in terms of salary. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going from 26, in stipends to 165.
Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. So tell me a little bit about what caused you to give us a jingle.
Because of such a huge increase in our household income, we're making this big budget for next year. And the main question here is we're trying to start saving for our future kids' 529 accounts before we even have kids yet. And so I'm calling to see if, you think that's silly or if we're putting too much money into the 529 accounts.
I think it's kind of funny that you're doing it in advance of actually having children. So tell me a little bit more about what's going on.
We have no debt, no kids yet, but we plan to have 2 to 3 in the future. And we will be moving to Chicago when my new job starts.
And what will that require in terms of like cost of living adjustment?
That's going to go up to, $6,000 a month.
That's good. And you can obviously afford it. And what about your contributions to retirement? What are you doing now? And I just want to make sure that we're covering everything. Let's break it out for each of you. And let's pretend you already have this job, right? So not this second, but let's say that today we have you making your 165. What do you plan on putting into retirement?
We plan on maxing out both of our Roth IRAs. Not IRAs, sorry, 401k, because we won't be eligible for the IRAs.
Right. Okay. So you're going to do 19.5 for each of you, right?
Right.
Okay. And then anything else beyond that you are planning to do?
Not really.
Okay. And what about money that's already been put in savings? How much do you have?
So we have 37K for our emergency reserve, which should cover 6 months of living in Chicago.
Okay.
And then we have 135K in our bank savings account, and that's for like a whole bunch of like midterm goals.
Tell me about that. What are those?
So there's the house down payment, which is roughly half of this 135. And then we are saving for a car in a few years. And then we have one for our honeymoon, which we didn't get to have because of COVID. And then we got
married. Wait a second. You got married amid COVID?
Yes, we did.
This is the second time, Mark. And did you enjoy it? Was it good? You were happy?
It was great. I'm glad I did it.
And where's the honeymoon going to be?
We're thinking New Zealand.
Ooh,
interesting.
That's great. Fantastic. Okay. So, but when we think about it, the emergency reserve, let's call it sacrosanct. The 135 between the house down payment, the car, and the honeymoon, that's kind of spoken for. So you're very good savers, right? I mean, really good. Any other money that is anything else, just like fund money, or I don't know what your spouse does for a living, but is there money like in stock plans or anything like that? Any other assets that we've not accounted for?
Yeah, so he doesn't have any real stocks to speak of. It's a startup. But between the two of us, we have 2 529 accounts in our own names, and there's 11,000 already in there.
Mark, what do you think about the 529 accounts starting for the kids now? I mean, you're a young parent as well. So I just want to make sure I'm going to check myself and ask you are really the expert in this, more so than I.
Yeah, I know quite a few people that have done this, including a friend of mine did this prior to the birth of his son. I don't know. I personally did not feel the need to do that. I'm just wondering, like, if you break it down month by month, what do you think you guys are going to have extra each month?
Actually, like $700 only, and that's why I'm calling, because it seems kind of little.
How much do you think you would want to put into the 529s on a monthly basis?
Right now, the bank rate calculator says we need to put in a little under $2,000 per month.
A month?
Yeah, because she wants to fully fund
For
2 to
kids.
3 college educations, right?
But you're not doing that currently, are you?
No, not yet. But once we start the new jobs, we might.
But when you say you're going to have $700 a month once you have the new jobs and you're putting money into your Roths, and in other words, this is with the new salary. That's what you think you'll have after the cost of living increase. You'll have $700 a month extra. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
Is that after you contribute to the 529?
Yeah.
2,000 a month. I don't know. I would have it.
I would too. It's exactly what I thought. I would cut that in half. First of all, we don't know anything about these kids, these yet unborn kids, right? So I think it seems a little bit ambitious to do this in such a big way. And also, I don't know why, but I have this sense that even though you like, oh, I have money saved for the house, like that whole thing of buying a house, furnishing a house, having a house, getting used to that. Like, I feel like you're going to need a little extra money in the slush fund. And what I would do is if you're telling us, you basically have $2,700 a month that we're talking about, right? I would split it in half. I really would. I would say, if you want to do this, let's do, $1,300 a month would go into 529 plans, and then $1,400 a month would go into let's not call it your midterm goals. Let's call it long-term goals. Like, let's put that into a nice mix of index funds that you could, again, it wouldn't be as aggressive as your retirement accounts, but money that you think you're going to be able to tap sooner, like 5 to 10 years rather than talking about decades in the future. We'll get back to Tina in just a minute, but when you're on the website, do me a favor, go check out the resource section. Mark continues to populate it with great stuff. JillOnMoney.com. That's the website. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here trying to help you out through the new year with your financial questions. So many come up. I know it's hard to focus on that during the holiday season. Well, the holiday season's over, and now it's time for the season of you. So if you would like some help navigating maybe whatever is next on your financial priority list, give us a holler. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com, and click the contact button. Okay, let's get back to our conversation with Tina. How much money is already in retirement for you guys?
So we have Roth IRAs of 45K combined. And then our Roth 401k through my husband's job, there's 37K in there.
I mean, you got a lot of work to do on retirement. So you're going to fund that. That's going to be great. I would rather you not have all that money tied up in a 529 plan before we know what's going to happen. Maybe you're going to have like the pro football playing scholar oboe player. I mean, I don't know. Like, we don't know who these kids are and what they're going to be. It feels like premature to go crazy with it. Like, I get if you're going to have 2 or 3 kids, even if you started saving an additional $1,300 a month right now, that would be a lot right now. Who knows what it's going to be in terms of like, what are your needs going to be once you do have kids? Are you both going to be working? Is there going to be need for some help? I don't know. I feel like you want some flexibility, and you will be robbed of flexibility. Not that you can't get the money, but it's better to have already had it taxed. And certainly I like the idea of building up the midterm goal fund a little bit also, just to make sure that the transition in this move doesn't, maybe surprise you a little bit on the upside. If by, 3-6 months into 2022, you have a better sense of your costs and everything that's going on, and you've made the move and everything's done and all that stuff, and you've got like, now you're planning your honeymoon, and you really get a sense of like how much of that 135 you're going to need, or whether you're going to need more. I think then I would do the backdoor Roth. I'm okay with them putting a little extra money in the 529. I really am. It's like if it's 13 or 1,000, whatever's easy for you. But I do think having more liquidity as you approach this time in your life. It's so funny. It's like this is the bookend period to retirement. When you're young and you're starting a family, having access to money is incredibly important. And when you're older and getting ready to retire and you no longer have cash flow, it is incredibly important to have liquidity. So this is like the bookend story. In the middle, you can kind of throw money lots of different places, but I think you're going to want to have this liquidity. And I think that you should actually have fun along the way. And I would hate for you to live a life where you're like, wow, this is amazing. We're going from 120 grand a year to $300,000 a year. And all you're doing is scrimping and saving as if you don't have something to celebrate. You're allowed to live and have some fun.
Right.
I know you're not buying that. Wow, Mark, did you hear that? She's like, right. Not really, Jill. Can you give yourself permission for that or not?
Yeah, I can.
Because I feel like that's something that will put some of your financial life in more balance.
You guys are certainly on the right track. So you don't have to have that mentality that a lot of people have, like almost like the FIRE movement that Jill and I have learned to hate.
But it really, I think you guys are in great shape, and that, it's okay to enjoy yourself. It really is. It really is okay. I feel like you guys are like Mark said, you're like on a great path, but it doesn't have to be like this complete black and white, like we save everything or we save nothing. Like, you can do some things, you can have some fun and make a great trip to New Zealand, and you can make this transition and give yourself a little flexibility. And I think you should stay in touch with us, because I have a feeling, Mark, that when the pregnancy occurs, there's going to be a whole rethinking of this, but we're going to have more information by then, right? So that's what we think. Do you guys have wills?
Not yet.
Okay, let's do that. That's easy. And what about life insurance for each of you?
We don't have them yet.
You know what? You're young and you're healthy, and you're going to have kids soon. And while you're young and healthy and you're going to have kids, you know what you could do? You could both get yourselves a 20-year $1 million term life insurance policy for each of you. Bang that out. I mean, the cost is probably going to be like bupkis, like a couple $100 a year. Are you going to buy a house, or are you going to eventually? When is that moment going to be? Like, you're going to say, I'm going to buy a house when? After a year? After, like, what are you thinking?
Oh, we're still saving for the house. We're thinking of 6 years. So the 135K is like not done yet. We're putting in like 2,300 each month into like the saving stuff.
And what's the plan for the kids? Same time frame?
Yeah, around the same time frame. We're hoping to buy the house before the first kid has to go to school, just so we get into the good school zone.
Well, if that's the case, I would definitely peel back on the 529 for a few years.
Yeah, me too. I would tell you what, I would look at buying the house sooner rather than later, because rates are really low. Get a sense, like, I'm not saying you have to do it this second, but Chicago's a pretty affordable place for a housing market, considering it's a big city. And I keep my eyes open and start getting a sense of neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I think that the house purchase could occur sooner than 6 years. Just my 2 cents. It's my guess. That's my guesstimate. You might be happy to have that buckled up and done. And yeah, that does argue for pulling back more on the 529.
Oh, that's interesting, because I read somewhere that the housing market is not going to calm down until 10 years later when the supply catches up. So maybe we have to save for even longer.
No, I don't think so. And by the way, Chicago's actually a much more affordable market, and you're making good money there. And I'd start looking, and rates are still low. That's where I come down.
Gotcha.
If you're like Tina and need some help with anything remotely financial, all you need to do is go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button, and we will get your note. Jill on Money will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are closing out another hour of fun-filled financial folly. Oh, that was good, right, Mark? I did it all just like that. I like that. And we want to answer more of your questions. Listen, New Year always means you got a lot of questions. So Let's get that pipeline filled. We are here for you. Just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and you can click the contact button. We'll get your note. Okay, Janae writes, I have a taxable account with Vanguard, and so far I have only bought and reinvested the dividends. I do get a tax statement annually, and I assume I'm paying taxes on the gains. Is this correct? No, that's not what you're doing. You are paying taxes on one of two things. One is the dividends themselves. So interest and dividends, you have to pay tax on that. And then you could also potentially be paying money, which would be when the fund itself buys and sells assets within the account. Now, that's one of the reasons I like index funds, because there's not a lot of turnover. But if you have a managed fund, which you might, when the manager decides to sell, XYZ stock inside of that portfolio, you actually pay a share of that capital gain. Okay. Then your question, Janae, when you do sell, the question is, will I only pay taxes on that year's gains? No. When you sell, you will pay tax on the difference between what you bought that asset for and what you sell it for. Clearly, as you've reinvested the dividends, the cost basis will rise, but you'll be on the hook for the appreciation. So I hope that helps. That's one of the issues around taxable accounts, right? You really have to keep an eye out for the turnover within the fund. And if you're in a high tax bracket, you may not want to be in the kind of fund that distributes a lot of dividends. Okay, we're going to go to a break. So when we return, we're going to hit more of your questions. Again, just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and click on the contact button, ask us your question, and we will do our best to answer it. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. It's the second hour. We're ready to rock and roll. And I know it's a new year. It's a new radio program. It's not new, but it's really new for 2022. So let's get right into it. Johnny in New York City is up next. Johnny boy, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so appreciative that you guys are taking the time to speak with me.
So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us why you need our help.
Well, it's been quite a roller coaster, honestly, the last 18 months, although not as an extreme a roller coaster as many people have been through. So I'm 31, live in New York. I live in a co-op apartment. I'm a graphic designer by trade and have had many roles over the last 8+ years since I launched my career. So that's actually been kind of what's informed a lot of my financial thinking over the years and how I plan and think about money, as much as New York City forces you to anyway when you're not a bazillionaire here. And so I've had for the last 18 months, I've had the ability to save a lot of money very aggressively. I've been freelancing before when I was going from role to role, honestly. Which was very hard to build up a cushion when I thought I had a safe job and then all of a sudden the job didn't work out. That's happened more than once. And so now my thinking on money is really shifted in terms of, I try to think of it in terms of like how I can make myself like harder to cancel financially, basically. I have a really robust kind of emergency safety net. I'm very meticulous about how I budget month to month, so I know how much I need to live on and everything. And so where I'm at is I have currently a mortgage on my co-op that I'm looking to refinance and do a cash out refi, take out some of that equity because as I've heard so many times on your program that, you're kind of very much anti-paying down a mortgage because how much liquidity you lose when you put it back into the house or the apartment. I'm thinking, well, what if I did the opposite and take that liquidity out so I could have that cash and I could choose to invest it as I would like? Because what I'm really looking to do is diversify as much as possible. So as a freelancer, I've come to very much appreciate what it means to be diverse, because when I've learned this lesson the hard way. When I work for one company, it's kind of like having just one client. And if you lose the job, your only client, you're up the creek. And so I've looked not only to diversify as a freelancer, but also outside of my traditional role as a designer, where else can I earn money? So for a while, I Airbnb'd the guest bedroom of my apartment, which I haven't done since the pandemic started, and probably won't go back to. I've taught classes. I've picked up odd jobs here and there, and I've been able to put a lot of money away and invest in high yield savings account, Betterment, taxable accounts and things like that. So I'm thinking of extending that by pulling more equity out of the apartment. But one of the things that piqued my interest and made me want to reach out, and sorry for droning on, was that investing in a way that I can maybe use the money from, say, dividend payouts to supplement my monthly budget. Because the money that I generate, from dividends through all the ETFs through Betterment just gets reinvested in those funds. But I'm thinking I found, on a site like NerdWallet, a list of, ETFs that are specific and generate, mid to high single digit dividend payments. And I thought, if I could put, $10,000 to $20,000 in some of those, would that generate, a couple $100 a month? And that would be a great kind of supplement that I wouldn't have to worry so much about my ability to perform and put more working hours into the day.
Yeah, instead of you doing the work, you get your money to do the work.
Exactly.
Let's get down to some of the money stuff. How much money do you have on hand in cash right now?
I have about $110,000.
Okay.
The refinance has not closed yet.
And how much is the co-op worth?
$360,000.
What's the outstanding debt right now on it? What's your current mortgage?
Just under $140,000.
Okay. And what's the rate now, currently?
I have a 15-year fixed at 3.375.
And tell me what's going to happen at the refi. What are you doing? Are you doing another 15 or are you going to a 30?
I'm going to a 30 because, again, I want that free cash flow because I want that lower monthly payment. So when I originally took out my first mortgage, I was like, I can't be in debt for 30 years. That's crazy. Give me the 15-year. But now I'm like, actually, it could be nice to have that flexibility every month. So I'm going to a 30-year fix at 2.5%.
Whoa, that's great. And what is the cash out amount? So what will the total mortgage be when you're done with this?
I'm looking at $216,000.
And what will your payment change from and to? What's your current mortgage payment right now?
$1,417 and change monthly. And then it would drop to I calculated about $850.
So you're going down. You're going to be able to save that extra money. Not only are you going to get the cash out, you're also going to have a monthly drop that's pretty significant. And you're willing to capture that, not just spend it, to continue to build up your asset base, right?
That is the dream.
It's not the dream. It's going to be a reality in about 3 weeks. You've got 110 grand in cash. Tell us more about what else you have put aside. What else, do you have any non-retirement? I think you said Betterment. You were doing commercials for everybody. Betterment, NerdWallet. Who else do you want to do a commercial for?
Well, I heard about all of them on this show.
I mean, come on. Okay. How much is at Betterment?
My total investments with Betterment are about $150,000 spread over a few accounts, including my IRAs.
How much? Let's break it down, though. Let's do non-retirement to retirement. So what's in non-retirement assets?
So non-retirement assets include about, I think, $90,000 in total with Betterment over two taxable accounts.
Why two?
I know that this was going to come up. One of them is very aggressive, and I thought, let's shoot for the moon. And the other is much more conservative in terms of the bond equity split. And I thought, that could be a sort of a safety net account that won't fluctuate as much. And then years later, I thought, well, why not just average them out? And
yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And maybe you can just combine those because it's a little bit easier to manage. So, and then there's 60 grand in retirement in IRA or Roth IRA.
Yeah, both. A Roth IRA, which I contribute to weekly, and then a traditional IRA, which is rollovers from previous 401ks. I also have a 401k with a current employer that I am a W-2 employee of, and a 403b from my teaching at local colleges, which, all combined retirements have about 60,000 in them.
I mean, just in general, how much did you make, let's say 2020, and what are you on track for 2021?
2020 was a horrible year for me financially. My adjusted gross income was about 60,000. And 2021 is looking to be a very bumper year for me because my freelance stuff started to really pick up really well, and I'm looking at closer to $100,000 for this year.
When you were made 60, I mean, you weren't really doing anything, but you could pay your bills and everything was okay?
I managed, well, both because I went into personal financial lockdown and cut down on expenses, and also the pandemic really helped.
Okay, we'll get back to our conversation with Johnny in just a second. If you've got a financial question, just go to the website, jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Now, this is a time where I know a lot of people want to do better with their financial matters. Well, you don't have to do that much better, but what you do need to do is get in touch with us. Just go to jillonmoney.com, click the contact button. You can ask us any question that is remotely financial. Or if you think you need a bigger, more holistic approach and a real financial advisory relationship, not just a quick conversation, you should check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth does goal-based financial planning, and they do that with dedicated certified financial planners. There are no wealth or account minimums. Facet meets you where you are. This is really great financial planning that's accessible to everyone. So you should check out facetwealth.com. Right now, we are going to get back to Johnny from New York City. So when you have this, let's see, 75 grand that comes out of the cash out, the refi, is it earmarked to do anything? Do you need to do anything in the apartment? Is there anything that will necessitate spending some money right away?
No, there isn't. I could always dream up. I would love to redo my bathroom and kitchen, though it's not necessary. And I don't really plan on moving anytime soon from the apartment. So I wasn't planning to earmark that for any purchase, no.
Okay. So there's no debt besides the mortgage. In other words, on 60 grand, you were able to go into lockdown and pay your bills, right?
I did have to dip into my emergency savings a touch, but I was just fortunate that I had that. But I only had to do that once. But otherwise, yeah, I was able to live.
Is there any reason why we need to keep the old rollover IRA? Can we just convert that into a Roth?
Yeah, there's not much in there. I honestly I always thought about keeping it around because I might leave from teaching and have to roll over the 403b into that account, or leave my current job and have to roll over its 401k. So I kind of just kept it so I wouldn't have to continually open new rollovers.
I see. Yeah. I see. Mark, do we need to convert this right away, or what do you want to do with this?
I mean, even if he does convert it, he's not closing it, so the account will still be there.
Right. So you can convert it. How much money's in there?
There's only like $5,000 to $6,000 in the rollover.
Yeah.
I would just do it.
Mark says do it. Then do it. Now, about this idea about investing with dividend producing stuff, the way I look at this is there is a good chunk of money in cash, which I know you will never part with because you've now had this moment where you're like, oh my God, I have seen and felt what it means to be scared, right? And you had the money and that was what it was there for. So you want to keep it, you want to keep a pretty healthy cash cushion, correct?
Yeah, I feel it's like a financial security blanket.
Instead of looking at this as, oh, I want dividend producing stocks. I really just think you need a more balanced approach to the investing, right? So I think the non-qualified accounts should be combined into one account. When you put the extra $75,000 in there, what I would say is that this non-qualified account should not be as aggressive as, say, your Roth accounts, because this is money you may need to dip into eventually. When you look at the extra savings from the refi, then that money automatically gets shoved into this non-qualified account. The only other thing I would mention is, you have money that's going into various retirement accounts. Do you think with extra cash flow that you could put more than $6,000 a year away into a Roth and whatever else you're doing in the retirement accounts? Is there more money you can set aside for retirement?
So, yeah, I'm getting my company match of 5%. But between the company 401k with the match, plus the Roth IRA contributions, and the 403b, of which I put 50% of my earnings from teaching into the 403b because I don't need that money to live on month to month. I'm putting away about $15,000 this year towards retirement.
That's great. I mean, we want you to get to 19.5. I just want you to know that. Mark's about to chime in with that, not putting enough away. So, Mark, do you want to just put it in your own words?
19.5. Let's go.
Let's go. 19.5, he says. Let's go. Let's get to 19.5. That's what we want for you.
Isn't that the cap for 401ks? Or you want that to be the total amount of money I put away through all the various?
Yeah, all the various is fine. Like if you can put 19.5 away, we'll be very happy. Okay. And you will be able to do it. You can cash flow it with the money that is from the savings in your mortgage payments.
Right.
And then whatever's left, then put into your non-qualified betterment account. But I do think you should have a lower risk profile in that account. If you want to take risk, jam the risk into the Roth. That is where you have the longest time horizon. And if you take a ton of risk and you happen to hit it big, there's also not going to be a tax consequence. So it's far better to do it in that account.
Yeah, the two existing taxable accounts, one is a 90-10 stock bond and the other is a 40-60.
I don't know. Mark, what do you think for an allocation?
Given his age?
Yeah.
Overall, 80-20.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking 70-30 because I'm a wimp. But you know what? You have a lot of cash. So 70-30, 80-20, that's the kind of thing for retirement accounts if you can handle the risk. In the non-qualified, if you want it to be like 70-30, 65-35, because that's a money you may or may not need. That's one thing. But I think you're pretty cash heavy. So that gives you a little bit of an opportunity here to be more aggressive, not wildly aggressive, not dumb, but more aggressive at least. And in the retirement accounts, I don't think you have there's not like a huge risk for money that's going to be sitting around for 30 years.
I'm comfortable with that. I do feel that the extra cash gives me, license to be, more aggressive with investing, especially given the long time horizon.
Yeah.
I try to tell all my friends, like, the most valuable thing you have is time.
You bet.
You invest, and they're just like, I'll get around to it later. Let's go to brunch.
As we like to say in the community, there's no I in brunch.
Yeah.
I think you're in good shape. I like this. I think having that flexibility of putting more money away because of the refi is great. So let's get that deal closed and let's clean some stuff up a little bit and put some more money into retirement. I think you will be happy to have done that. I really do.
Okay.
I was gonna say, how do you feel about not going down the route of dividend paying ETFs?
Right. So that's ultimately what you're suggesting is give up that dream of generating a little extra income through that kind of strategy altogether.
I don't think you need that. Why do you need dividend producing stocks that, by the way, create more taxable income for you?
This is the mentality. I'm not saying this is you, but this is the mentality of the FIRE movement. This is what these people do. They get these dividend-paying stocks, and they live on, $30,000 a year.
Yeah, but this guy, our Johnny, is not doing that. Our Johnny has his house. It's a great deal. You got a great mortgage. You're happy working. You're not saying you're going to retire and live off this money anytime soon. You like to work. I still think that for now, you're in accumulation phase. Even if you were to have the ability to have some financial independence, let's just say by the time you're 50, you say like, oh, in 20 years, I want to be hopefully financially independent and turn down work whenever I want to. You will be, but I don't think you need to create dividend producing / taxable assets. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would just say if you're 70-30, move ahead, rock and roll, put as much money as you can into that retirement account, whatever, 19.5, and then you're going to have a lot of great options, but you don't need the money to create income for you. You are an income creation machine yourself. And, with last year being the weird year, it seems to me that you really have figured out how to, let's see. I mean, if there's some reason why your income starts dropping again, maybe we'd have a different conclusion. But from what you're saying, I don't think so. I think you're in good shape.
And by the way, this is your home. You plan on being there for a long time. If you really want a new kitchen or a new bathroom, go ahead and do it. Enjoy it.
Oh, Mark.
Let go of the cash in the emergency fund or reallocate some of that, because you just stare at that number and you just marvel at it and be like, I could never withdraw from that.
Even if you have, really, especially if there's something you really want to do and you know that your cash flow is going to be really much better this year once you get this refi done, I would use some of the money that came out if you really want to make improvements to your co-op. If you said, I want to take of my 75 that comes out, I want to take 25 and update my kitchen, then do it. You have a financial asset called an apartment. You should actually invest in it. Okay, if you want to join us, again, all you have to do is just hop on the website, JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com, and click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here to try to help you make the next best decision in your financial life. Today, we are on the line with all of you. Whoever wants to come on the program, just hop onto the website, JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button, and you too can join us at the Capital One Bank Virtual Studios. Capital One, this is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet? We are going to talk to Leah in New York City. Hi, Leah. How can we help you out?
Sure. So I have a good problem, I think, which is that my husband and I are sitting on a lot of cash. We are investing every month. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But the problem is we just are not sure if and when we'll be in a position to buy. So I know that if we ever decide to buy, we don't want to put that money in the market. But since we live in New York City, it's unclear if we'll ever actually be able to do that, in which case it's possible we should be more aggressive in our investments.
So do you think you want to buy in New York City, or do you think you want to buy in the suburbs?
As of right now, I am refusing to leave the city. So,
you hear that? That's Mark clapping for you. Mark has a real thing. He's a very anti-suburb. He is.
I grew up in the city, so my whole family is on the island of Manhattan.
That's fantastic. So, you're how old?
I'm 37.
And husband is?
33.
Oh, nice. Well done.
Thank you.
So that's very good. That's the way it's supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen, because those guys get old and sick and die, and you need to have a little age difference. Okay, so you're both working?
Yes.
And how much do you guys earn together?
So this is part of what's a little bit tricky. So we both have full-time jobs and then a number of side jobs. So the side job income is a little bit unpredictable. It took a hit during COVID. It looked like it was going to come back, but now with Delta, it's a little bit unclear. But last year, I think we came out at about 180.
Okay, that's great. And so you're renting now. How much is your rent currently?
Our rent, we lucked into a rent stabilized apartment. So so our rent is $36.50.
Okay, so let me just explain to everybody.
Only in New York is that a good deal.
I was just about to say. I presume it's a decent size because $36.50 is not like zero. So
that's more than my mortgage.
So it's a large 2-bedroom in a nice doorman building. We have our bedroom, and then our daughter's bedroom is half. It's big enough that we divided it half into a bedroom and half into an office. A nice size living room and like a real kitchen. So
okay. So how old's the daughter?
She is about to be 7 months.
You had a baby in COVID.
I had a baby in COVID.
How was
Yeah.
that? Was that all right? Was it scary?
You know, it was okay. She's our first, so we have nothing to compare it to. It sort of was helpful that not everyone just came and invaded the hospital, and we got to keep the pregnancy a secret for a long time, which I wanted. So that part was good, but it was hard because we didn't have help when she was born. So that part was hard. But
despite all the family on the island of Manhattan.
Well, right. You know, my parents were ready to beat down the door, but
my God,
we were being very cautious. So.
Hysterical. Are you going to have more kids, you think?
Yeah, we hope to have 1 to 2 more.
Is he from New York also?
Yes, he's from one of the outer boroughs.
Okay, so if you're thinking about a larger dwelling, does it matter where you are in the city? In other words, could you go different parts of the city to find a deal? Or I don't know if you heard that call that we did with someone on our sister podcast about really feeling like you wanted to be close to the kids in their day school and all that. So do you have a preference on that?
Yeah, so I did hear that episode. We're very connected to our synagogue community, so we need to stay within walking distance of there, sort of from 2 miles in any direction. So we're pretty bound to Manhattan, and we're not married to buying. I mean, the other thing we've discussed is renting, and then maybe one day, potentially with siblings or something, buying like a second home. So
right.
Buying a second home.
But would it be hard? I mean, you're in a 2-bedroom. You probably, if you had another kid, you could have the kid share the room, but a third would seem like a stretch, no?
Yes. So I grew up sharing a room, so I think that that's a normal thing for kids to do. But yeah, we wouldn't be able to stay in this apartment if we had a third.
How much money do you have in cash that's been building up for this potential purchase?
So just overall, not necessarily for this potential purchase, but we currently have about $200,000 in cash, which feels like a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. What else do you have? What else is going on money-wise? You got some retirement assets?
Yes. So neither of us have 401ks at work, but we both max out our Roth IRAs. So mine has about 100,000 in it. And my husband, it took him longer. He was putting money in the Roth IRA, but not investing it. So we just took care of that. So he's probably at closer to 50 to 60 at this point.
Okay.
And they're both in target date funds with Fidelity.
Okay.
And then we have close to 200 in non-tax advantaged brokerage accounts.
Okay. So you mean 200 in cash, 200 in brokerage, and this 150-ish in retirement?
About that, yeah.
That's good.
We're frugal people.
That's great. I mean, let's really be honest here. How much do you think you'd have to spend to get into an apartment that you could see having 3 kids in?
I mean, it definitely wouldn't be below $1 million, I'm sure.
No.
Unless the market falls out. Probably I've done, I do sometimes aspirational looking on Street Easy. I think I've seen things that who knows what they look like in real life because I've never gone to actually look at them. But I've seen things for like 1.1, 1.2, which feels like an insane amount of money.
What's funny is I just wrote down on a piece of paper, which I will prove to Mark. That
let me guess.
Yes.
My guess would be, I would have said 1.5, 1.6.
I said 1.3. I wrote down 1.3 because I think you could go. So not everyone needs to know exactly where you live, but you told me prior to coming on the air. So you could go a little bit north of that and probably get a good deal, a little bit, not a lot of it, but a little bit, right? And I think you can get 1.3. If you were to do 1.3, let's just say we could make this work right now. And I could come up with a game plan where you could get a mortgage and it's 1.3, but you really had to essentially get rid of all the cash and the brokerage account and do the move. How would you feel about that?
I would not feel good about that.
Okay.
I think being house rich and cash poor is a poor decision.
Okay. All right. So that's why I wanted to make sure this is the way we kind of test where you are. We'll get back to Leah in just a minute. Remember, all of our great content is on a brand new website, JillOnMoney.com. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get right back on the air with our pal Leah from New York City so we can figure out what else she needs to do. Are you willing to kind of limp along in this apartment for a while and keep stashing your money away and give yourself the opportunity to really look? Or do you really think like you're not going to do it? Like if I said to you, got to spend $1.5 million, let's go. At what point do we think you could really pull the trigger? That's my question.
Yeah, so I mean that's always been my question also, and the answer is I'm not totally sure. As you might be able to tell from our amount of savings, we're both fairly financially conservative, and so I mean right now we're very happy in this apartment. We don't feel any reason to leave here, but we hope to have more children, and so it'll become more difficult. At the end of the day, I don't want to feel like we are all of a sudden living month to month because we bought something that was really a little bit more than we can afford.
Right. Well, I mean, look, when you buy, especially when you buy in the city, you would have a mortgage and then, the mortgage is going to be whatever it is. And then you have the maintenance, right? So, and for everyone listening who's not from New York, that maintenance is sort of usually includes your property tax. I think that you're looking at essentially, I think it's $5,000 to $6,000 a month is probably what you're going to be looking at. And you probably just based on your saving can afford that. I think you got to keep the money in cash until you can figure out what your next steps are. And I think those next steps are going to be determined by you figuring out how much your side hustle income comes back or not, right? What if we sort of look at this as, let's take advantage of the fact that you're in this affordable apartment right now. I think you keep stashing away the money in both cash. I mean, what do you think is your free cash flow every month after you put money into your Roth IRAs? Every month, what are you saving in general?
Every month, we're putting between $1,000 and $1,500 in the market. And then probably saving depends a little bit on the month, close to another $1,000 beyond that. Our daughter's starting daycare in 2 weeks. So that's going to, we found like the least expensive daycare in New York, but it's still insane.
What happened to all this family in New York? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I think that's not a good option for us.
I'll send it down to Mark's in-laws. Mark, how do you think they'll feel? Okay, I'm just kidding.
So anyway, so daycare will be another expense, and she's going to become more expensive at least over the next few years. Our assumption is before she becomes cheaper.
What do you think it's going to cost to do the whole private school?
So we're actually not totally committed to private school. Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like I don't know my kid yet. Like she's just a baby. So I want to wait and see who she is. But we'll probably look at both public and private. But one of the private schools that we would be most likely to consider actually does percentage of income as their tuition.
Great.
So, and we're already, she has 16,000 in a 529. Even though you can use that for K-12, we don't want to use that for that. We want to try to send her to college as debt-free as possible.
So here's the question I have for you. Can you live with the fact that part of this money is going to stay in cash? Because I want to preserve the right to be able to make a different decision in a year or 2 years. Like what if, because in some respects, how weird real estate is, which is it can be that like somebody's like, oh my God, I have this great apartment. My friend's selling and moving to the burbs. And then you're like, oh, I want that apartment. So I think you should be prepared, ready to rock and roll, like not this second, but I think it's like we're talking about within 3 years, because I think you'll probably have another kid and then things are going to start to get a little hairy in that apartment. And so I think you're going to have to manage the cash better. Mark, are you cool with having that big fat cash account build up just in case they do buy a house? And the worst case scenario is you're like, you know what? We're staying here forever. That's it. We're like sardines. We love it. We love each other. We have, we're fine. And we can deploy that money, but I think you've got to preserve the optionality. Don't you think so, Mark?
I would probably put the focus more on cash than the brokerage account, because you already said if you have to spend all that money on a down payment, you'd be freaked out. So when that time comes, you want to have the down payment and you still want some cash left over.
Ooh.
So you feel like reduce what we're putting in the brokerage account every month?
Until you figure out what you're going to do with the house, I would.
Yeah.
I would build up the cash because it gives you want that comfort factor.
Unless you have really rich parents who are going to help you buy a place if you find one.
No, my parents, thankfully, are in good shape financially, but believe very strongly in financial independence for their children, which I think actually was a big, but I think it was actually a big favor for us because it meant that I knew from the time I was in high school that starting when I graduated from college, I was going to be on my own. So that was just sort of my mindset. And I think it actually served us very well that was the model.
Mark is right in that the more conservative approach is to build up your cash account. I'm okay with you splitting between the two. I really am. I mean, I get that you're going to lean, but you have to be comfortable with it because whatever goes in that cash account, you have to presume is going out the door for a house.
Right.
Or that you might have to liquidate some of the brokerage account, which is fine too. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there really isn't a wrong decision about this. It's like what you're giving up is the potential increase in value of your asset base, right? In exchange for that, you're giving that up, you get flexibility, cash, right? And you guys have to have a conversation with each other about how comfortable you are making that trade-off, right? Do you guys have wills?
Our will is in progress. We're working with our lawyer right now to finish that up. And my husband has $2 million in life insurance and I have $1.5 million.
That's great. Okay, you want to be like Leah, you want to be like Johnny, you want to be like Tina or Patrick or whoever else has been on this program, just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. Don't forget to let us know if you would come on the air with us. Mark does the rest. We'll be right back. You are back. It's Jill on Money. The first show of 2022 is winding down, but we're here all year long. I feel like I'm one of those Catskill comedians. Stick around. I'm here all week long. I'm here all year long. So is Mark. If you have a question, just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click on the contact button. While you're there, sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Mark does a great job with that, and it's awesome. Every Friday it comes out. Okay, Ty writes, I'm selling a rental condo because it's more than I can handle at my age. I'm 73 years old. I own my home. It's valued at $1.2 million. I have $1.1 million in an IRA, $1 million in stocks and mutual funds, and it's all held at Fidelity. Okay, so selling the rental condo will net Ty $450,000 after taxes and fees. Where would the best investment for this money be? I'm a widower. My Social Security and pension, along with stock dividends, is $55,000. I've given my 2 grandkids a total of $100,000 each. I don't owe money to anyone. I live a simple life. I'm in a 24% tax bracket because I have to draw down my required minimum distribution. Hey, you know what I would do? I would take that money and I would probably just pile it right into the mutual fund and stock portfolio. I would see an estate attorney to make sure that you don't have to file any gift tax return. And it's not a big deal if you do, but I just think you should talk to someone about that. I think adding to your Fidelity funds is just fine. Don't take too much risk. As you said, you live a simple life. You've done the hard work already, and congratulations for that. But let's try to keep the investment outlook an uncomplicated one, right? So not too much risk. Don't try to reach for anything too much here. You don't need to. All right. I hope that helps. Go see an estate attorney. All right. First show of 2022 in the can. And we would love to talk to you more throughout the year. If you've got a financial question, you can always email us, askjill@jillonmoney.com. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. Try to do something nice for someone today. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.